A Scientologist can be defined by a single question. Would you want others to achieve the knowledge you now have? And they'll make anything possible in your life.
I was deeply convinced that everything you do for endless trillions of years depends on what you do with and in Scientology.
Dude, it's like, you gotta be kidding me. It was such a lie. That book and that movie, I don't even know what to tell you. It's called Prejudice. And it's called it's very irresponsible reporting. You know, if anybody wants to find out about it, you should find out for yourself. It's called Integrity. And look at me. Look at who I am. Seriously. Look what it is that I am doing. You can't knock me for what it is that I am doing. I am helping. Shame on them, anyway. And the truth is, find out for yourself. Go to freedommagazine.org or Scientology.org and find out for yourself what it is about.
You know, people really need to take time and read a book. You know, that's my advice. You could read New Slant on Life, you could read Dianetics, and I think if you really read it, you'll understand it. But unless you do, you'll speculate, and I think that's a mistake.
Why do you think it's become such a target, though, for critics?
Sometimes when something really works well, it becomes a target. It's, you know, 40 years for me, I've been part, and I've loved every minute of it. My family has done so well with it, and you know, it's a beautiful thing for me, and I've saved lives with it, and saved my own life several times. Through my loss of my son, it helped me every step of the way for 2 years solid, and here I am talking to you because of it.
And the thing is that John knows the truth. I mean, I've sat with John. John knows the truth. John said, I don't give a shit. It's helped me. You live in a little bubble. You have been brainwashed thoroughly that without Scientology, you will die. Your career will die. You attribute everything that happens to you good to Scientology. Anything bad that happens to you is your fault. It's bigger than celebrity.
Now, it's interesting as you mentioned that, and I know you're a Scientologist. Do you get upset when people put all these negative, connotations towards the religion?
No, because no one ever says anything that makes any sense. And no one ever says anything that's true. So, you know, I feel like there isn't really many races or religions that don't get made fun of by somebody. Also, Scientology is so new, you know, 58 years now. At least we're not having to deal with the Inquisition and the Crusades. So that's pretty good. We're not being...
Do you feel bad for Tom Cruise? Like, do you feel bad for him because he gets so much heat for it? Because he's just open about it?
No, not at all. No, I mean, Tom's awesome. I met him a few times. I don't know him that well, but... you know, I mean, he's Tom Cruise. That guy's done more amazing films. You know, he's got beautiful kids. He's got a good-looking lady. So, you know, you can tease him all you want. I don't really think he cares.
People like Tom Cruise believe that this is a prison planet, and that Scientology is literally this planet's only salvation. The wardens of the Earth prison planet are the Markavian invader forces that came to Earth tens of thousands of years ago and have bases on Venus and Mars. They're the ones that are keeping us down.
Number one, everyone wants to know what Scientology is, and this is where I love to bring people to find out from the source what it is.
Scientology is a pragmatic religion. It's something that you go and you read and understand the theory, and then you go out and apply it to your life and you get a result. It's for everybody. It's for any denomination. And it works, and that's the bottom line. And people ask me about Scientology, and the first thing that I'll say is that you should read a book and understand it for yourself and see how it applies.
I think, you know, my religion has helped me tremendously keep positive.
What do you say, religion?
Scientology, yeah. It's religion. Yeah. You live a very isolated life, and so there's a price you pay for isolation. And you have the media as well, which is something that you learned early on to kind of put in its own perspective. You know, you keep it at a distance because there's no way of controlling that. You know, the media will always have variations of interpretations of what your movie is, what your your personal life is, what your activities are. They're always going to vary and have their own take on it. So to try to control that is like a test in futility.
From the very beginning of the teachings in Scientology, you were taught that the news is a bad place, that the news lies. That's what they do, that they're in the business of lying. Parishioners believe, because we're told every day, we are doing amazing things for the world, for mankind, and so you're trained and conditioned to believe that good news will not get out there, specifically towards Scientology. So the brainwashing begins very early on. So you are conditioned to believe that looking on the internet or watching, let's say, Going Clear or reading something that is critical of your church is a transgression, is a sin.
In the film now, your film, The Forger, it's a heist movie, yet it's truly about your character's relationship with his son who is dying from cancer. You're someone who has lost your own son to a cruel disease. How emotional was it for you to play this role, and how much your own personal life overlaps with your acting or feeds into it? My life has been filled with variations of loss, but my biggest loss was the loss of my son. So that is part of me. But when I portray a character, I'm the kind of actor that uses the moment that I'm in. My mother taught acting, and she taught more of a kind of acting as believing and pretending. So I become in the moment with the actor I'm with. I'm in the moment where if this young actor's playing my son, he's my son. If this man, if Christopher Plummer's playing my father, he is my father.
You're a Scientologist, right?
Yeah.
So how does that inform who you are and how you live now?
Oh man. It's a huge part of my life because it's a study. It's an applied philosophy. But it's also understanding like what the way life works and being able to use that. It's like learning the rules of the game. Like this is why things are the way they are, this is why things go the way that they do, and then you can play the game better knowing the rules of the game. The study is like, it's the technology of studying anything. It's dope.
Does it help you say your lines, learn your lines?
Yeah.
Like anything?
Yeah.
Astronomy, maybe?
Paddleboarding. Yo.
And paddleboarding? You use it in paddleboarding? You didn't share that with me? Bitch. That's why you won. That's why. It wasn't that kid that got in front of us. It was a study method.
Now you know.
Gotcha. All right. Cool. What are the 3 biggest misconceptions that people have about Scientology?
Oh. Probably number 1, that we're some kind of closed group or mysterious or something like that, and that it's just like the Hollywood religion. And number 3, I would have to go with we worship rabbits. That I don't actually know how many people think that.
Wait, I worship rabbits. That's not even, Scientology can't have that. No. I worship rabbits.
No, it's not.
Will you raise your kids as Scientologists?
Well, I would expose them to, like, this is what I do, which is how my parents did it, because my parents are Scientologists. And when I was like 7, they did like this demonstration. There's this thing in Scientology, it's a study method to like demonstrate things out, like this represents something so you can see it out there and you don't have to imagine. And my mom kind of explained out like, this is the goal, this is what we're doing. And I was like, yeah, it sounds good. And I was like 7, I was like, okay, cool. And so I would give them the option of like, these are our study tools, so you can use these in school, get good grades, learn, okay, good. And then, you know, just like anybody has a relationship with Scientology, it's like you do a course and you're like, yeah, I'm into it, it makes sense to me, or not.
Right.
If I had to sum it all up, like the goal of Scientology is giving the person back to themselves. Like your own power of choice.
And not necessarily believing that there's a higher power that is controlling that, or...
No, that's let me put it this way. There are Baptist Scientologists. And there are Buddhist Scientologists. And there are Jewish Scientologists. So that, you know, God and that belief, whatever it is for you, is intact. Because like I was saying, it's about applicability. It's about the way you use things in your life and you controlling your own fate. And so if you, on top of that, have whatever belief works for you to make you feel good and make sense to you, then great.
That's fascinating. What does love mean to you?
It means to me caring immensely about the other person. And on the big scale things, like what you want to do with your life and what makes you happy and making sure the person gets that. And then the small scale things, like my boyfriend always, like, if it's bedtime, I'll come into the bathroom to brush my teeth and my toothbrush already has toothpaste on it. And I'm like,
you're kidding. Come on.
Being thoughtful. Exactly. Putting yourself
and knowing when you need to have some pecan pie.
And knowing when the right time is to bring me my pie.
Right. With ice cream and whipped cream.
Yes.
Yes. That's love.
That's love.
I agree.
I actually find villains in life are kind of charming. You see, meaning that they need to fool you. They need to give you a false. They give you a sense of certainty about who they are, but they're actually not who they are. They could be stealing you blind, but they're so charming that you don't look at that. You just look how charming they are. Do you see? It's a distraction from what they're really up to. Do you see? So it's what I've observed that real villains in life are about. That they wax enthusiasm, but underneath it often is a vicious intent.
So they are good actors.
Oh, they're the best. They're the best actors, you know.
It is this source of controversy that somehow became this thing. And the more you talk about it or unearth these people that have had problems, the more you can have create something that's controversial. And for me, and I speak of that, but this is just my perspective and my own outlook on it. That it's a personal thing. It's something that works for me, and I think it's that simple. A lot of people want to talk about it or have opinions about it, and you'll find that most of those individuals, from my perspective, and I speak to a lot of people about it, that they've never read or really are not educated as to what Scientology is. They've never read anything that Hubbard's written, and yeah, I mean, it becomes, it's this interesting thing because you go, this is my religion, the philosophy that I study. That is essentially an applied religious philosophy. The other people who come on to shows or do interviews or talk that don't get really asked about being Christian or Jewish or Buddhist or and maybe Leah, who I've known since I was a teenager, had a problem. I have a sneaking suspicion that it was probably an issue with one or two people in the Church of Scientology, or maybe it's broader than that, and then it just seems to have festered. I do have to say though, I can't help but wonder, somebody who's doing a series, a whole season about that subject, that they're not getting paid, and there's a lot of money behind it. It's turned into such a controversy to where you go out, you make a documentary about it. The person who's doing that is making money off of it.
So there could be other motives.
Yeah, and so that's, you know, again, it's not even necessarily that it's something that I would care to discuss to the extent, because it is something where if somebody has a question, it's just somebody like, the only thing that you can really say is, yeah, it works for me, and you know, if you're curious about it, go ahead, go pick up a book.
Whether you read the New Yorker magazine article about Paul Haggis? I didn't. Have you heard about the stories of David Miscavige physically beating people on staff?
I have not.
Okay. You ever go to like Marty Rathbun's blog, Moving Up a Little Higher? He's a former executive. He and Mike Rinder used to be in charge of the office.
I don't know any of those.
Really? You don't?
I don't.
Okay. So if David Miscavige was beating his staff, would you?
I don't know anything about that.
Are you interested in, now that you've heard that, would you be interested in Googling that at some point?
No.
No? You have no interest in finding out whether David Miscavige?
None at all.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. I find that interesting that, you know, there are people being held captive.
I doubt that.
At the Gold Base. Yeah, there's people that had to escape, like Marty Rathbun and...
Problems in Afghanistan, man. Big issues in Afghanistan.
Those are huge. Yeah, I understand that. I'm working on this one little issue, which is, you know, people being abused inside Scientology.
I doubt it.
What do you mean?
I don't think that's true.
Why? I mean, I've had a website for more than 10 years now called Xenu TV.
Man, you can look on the internet and find all kinds of wild craziness.
I know, but
that doesn't mean it's true.
You know, I've interviewed a lot of former members.
It's true, right? Can you say that? Because it's on the internet.
Exactly. But I mean, when stories have been reported by the New Yorker or the New York Times or the St. Petersburg Times, yeah, but aren't you curious? I mean, if you're part of an organization that is so controversial, you're in Scientology.
I'm a Scientologist.
Right.
I'm part of an organization.
Right. Well, I mean, I think Scientology considers themselves an organization. I mean, there's organized Scientology, and then there are independent Scientologists.
This is about a food situation.
I know. But I was curious, you know, about the recent New Yorker article.
To the sidewalk. On the street, you're asking about a religion.
I haven't read it.
I'm so confused.
This seems like a wonderful place to be asking.
To the sidewalk.
Well, I do have books.
We don't want anyone to get hit by the car.
I don't blame you.
Why would you want a random person's opinion?
Random? Well, I'd be happy to talk to you. I mean, you're random enough too.
Get a book. Get a source thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I have read the books. I mean, I've read Dianetics.
Dude, it's context.
I know.
This is a street party.
I know. And I'm a big fan. It's nice to meet you. I would love to sit down and do an interview with you at some point. Would you? Well, I'm making a film. I'm making a film about Scientology.
But so?
Yeah, but if you're doing good, what about the people who are being abused? The people who sign a billion-year service contract. I'm not being hurt, so what do I care? I mean, that's generally the attitude that I find until they themselves get hurt, and then suddenly, you know, the light starts to dawn, and they understand, well, things aren't quite as positive and cheery as I thought they were.
Yeah, I believe in God. Describe God? Wow. Well, I would say for me, that's a really personal question.
Well, it is, and you don't have to answer it. It's we can move on if you don't want to answer it. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly not a test.
Okay. No, I don't mind answering it. I think God, to me, though, is I believe that there is a power that I am striving for. I think the best way to describe that would be to name that God, you know. And ideally, I would have to say that I am striving to be that God.
Robert explains how Christianity is a false belief, probably invented by madmen who found pieces of intergalactic information in 660 BC. Also that there is no God. When we die, we are implanted with the God myth before being sent back to Earth to live our next life. And only Scientologists have the power to save mankind in the intergalactic war that is coming. He warned warns his faithful not to talk about Xenu the alien or their own secret power.
But you mustn't go around talking about being the people who are going to save the planet. You are the people the planet obeys. You are the people who own the planet.
Is there a God in Scientology?
There is no God in Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard is the source of everything.
Why do they say there's a God?
They're lying to you. It's their way of pulling people in because it's all about money.
Bada boom. I mean, it's like, wham, there you go.
My experience personally and what I've observed for myself is that Scientology is destructive and a ripoff, and that it's very, very dangerous for your spiritual, psychological, mental, emotional health and evolution. I think it stunts your evolution. If Scientology is real, then something's fucked up. It ain't delivering what it's promised. That's for goddamn sure. It is not. It says it delivers what it's promised. Where's the fucking clear? You're talking about OTs. Let me meet a motherfucking clear. I would like to meet a fucking clear. I'm clear, right? I'm declared clear as a fucking bell. I went clear twice, as a matter of fact. Okay? So, I mean, you pull out a fucking copy of Dianetics, let's hear the definition of clear. And then they change it a little bit more, and they say no longer has his own reactive mind, his own, so they can sell the OT levels. But what I see now it ain't a joke for me when you start talking about this. This is the bad stuff. I think, from my own experience and from what I've seen, I think the further up you go up the bridge, the worse you get. That's what I see. Some people are happier, but who's happy? I submit to you that it's not them anymore. And I know people that are troubled to death. They just finished OT8 and they have migraines. Migraines? A fucking clear doesn't have migraines. It's OT8, for God's sakes. Migraines? Migraines is an engram that you can handle in... I mean, come on. How do they... And they're still fucking gung-ho and head OT ambassadors and all this shit and running around trying to do the job of the OT8s who are really the powerhouses. And so they believe that. And so they're happy because I'm fucking doing something to save the planet. And they're running around doing this stuff, but it's just like that theta trap. It's just one guy's stuck in the theta trap and he's unhappy, another guy's stuck in it and he's happy. Because he's convinced himself and he's just... I mean, it's awful. What's worse? I'd rather be depressed than that. I don't have an agenda. Right now I'm trying to help. And I know that the Scientologists are trying to help. They're just trying to help. I think that's what most people are trying to do, is they're just trying to help. Of having gotten into Scientology and after having been in it, been out. And that's a perspective that those people who are in and are not out do not have.
I think it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist, and it's something that you have to earn. For me, it really is KSW, but that policy to me has really gone, boy, when I read it, I just went, this is it. This is exactly it. You know you're the only one that can really help. It's not just Dave Miscavige. It's not just me. It's you. You're on board or you're not on board. Okay? I mean, if you're a Scientologist, you see life, you see things the way they are. It is the time now. Now is the time. Okay? And, they said, so, like, have you met an SP? Get those spectators either in the playing field or out of the arena, That's how I feel about it. I do what I can, and I do it the way I do everything. There's nothing part of the way for me. It's just...
Tom Cruise worships David Miscavige like a god. That's what people need to keep in mind. He's not in Scientology because he's being blackmailed or he can't leave. Tom Cruise is in Scientology because he believes that L. Ron Hubbard was the greatest human being that ever lived, and that David Miscavige is the greatest person living on the planet today. He really believes this stuff.